What's up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of Tough Runs Don't Last podcast. I'm your host, Grandpa. On this screen, on the other screen is Michelle Zingoulis. Say what's up, Michelle.
What's up, Michelle?
We got lots of stuff. Olympics wrapped up today. Have they started closing ceremony yet? I don't know. This is Sunday afternoon, 2:28 Central Time. So I don't know what's going on. I've been watching it. Oh, we had the women's marathon, so I did tune into that today, but we'll talk about that. I had a race yesterday in Hope, Arkansas, and we'll talk about that and some more stuff going on. Quick, let's give a shout out to our sponsor. The Tough Runs Don't Last podcast is presented by Rhino Races. Rhino Races is a virtual race series that offers 5 different races: a 5K, a 10K, a half marathon, and the Rhino Ultra. You can sign up for one or all 5 of their races at rhinoraces.com. Run your race at your convenience, track it with your fitness app of choice, screenshot your results as proof of completion, submit that screenshot to rhinoraces.com under the submit results section. Once your results are verified by Rhino Races staff, your award will be shipped to you by mail. Also, check out their gear section for t-shirts, wristbands, decals, and more. That's rhinoraces.com. Rhino Races is the premier virtual running series, and you can find us, the Tough Runs Don't Last podcast, on Spotify and YouTube, or excuse me, Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on X, Instagram, and TikTok at TR Don't Last. So I had all that right, just in a different order
Yes.
for the most part. All right, so fumbled that a little bit, but let's talk about the Olympics. We've had 2 weeks of Olympic Games, and it felt like it's gone on, or it's gone too fast, and also feels like it's been going on for a long time. Maybe that's why previously I thought this thing lasted like a month, because it's so much. I mean, it's over 2 weeks. It's a lot of stuff, a lot of events. But at the same time, I've really enjoyed it, especially this Olympics. The 33rd Olympiad, I believe, is what it is, and it's all over now. I believe they're showing volleyball. It must be an encore. I don't know, but it was Italy and the United States in the women's volleyball final. It looked like Italy was going to win it if they haven't already. Don't know a lot to keep up with, but we'll talk about the running portion a little bit. They had the track and field events in the second week, my favorite events, and the United States dominated for the most part. The last events I saw, I believe, were yesterday. It was the 4x400, the men and women from the United States both won. The men's was very close, very, very close. And the men squeaked it out. The same guy that won the 400 hurdles was the anchor in this one, and he edged it out over, I can't even remember who it was that they beat. Maybe I don't remember. I don't remember who it was. It was one of those. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just not even going to try. I'm not going to attempt it. It was very close, but the United States pulled it off, won it. The women just completely dominated. Of course, they have the best, I believe. It's either a distance hurdler or I don't want to say she does sprints too, like the hurdles in that. But she's probably the best we've ever had to do it. Sydney something. She's got like 2 last names, I think.
McLaughlin Levron.
Okay, I was like, it looked like you were looking at it, so maybe you would know. But she's excellent. She really gave us an advantage as far as furthering the lead. And then you got the, what was it, the 200 um 200-meter champion Gabby Thomas, I believe, was third. And of course, it just got further and further as it went along the lead, and it wasn't even. I mean, they made it look easy. Won by leaps and bounds, and the Netherlands came in second, got silver with Femke Bol being the anchor for that. You knew that would happen. If it's close, she's gonna have the advantage.
She
We
came
talked
out of
about
nowhere again in that.
that. It wasn't.
They were like fourth or fifth, and
Yeah,
she
but you
closed
knew
it and came in and
was
got the silver.
but you knew she was the superior one. Like once she got it, they had a chance. You knew that they were likely she was going to be able to come back. You give her 400 meters to do so, and she's going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was incredible. But yeah, it was a I don't know, it was a fun week of track and field. Sucked for Noah Lyles, the 100-meter champion, gold medalist by a photo finish. He did get bronze in the 200, but I mean, and that was supposed to be his event. That's all he talked about. That's supposed to be the easy one for him. He got bronze, but then you find out he had COVID,
Ooh.
so he wasn't a part of the relay team, and you could tell that threw off their chemistry. And one, they got disqualified for a late handoff, or they didn't hand it off inside the handoff zone or what. I never did the relay, so I don't know exactly the rules, but I just kind of learned by watching. But the chemistry wasn't there, and they wouldn't have medaled anyway. I mean, it was just it was sloppy. So lots of good stories, lots of heartbreak. So a typical Olympics, basically. But the United States came out uh, very impressive after that. And I know they easily won the total medal count. It was between them and the United States and China as far as who had the most golds. I don't know who officially got the most golds. Might have been China. They racked up 30 something, I think, in like table tennis. It was crazy.
The United States got 126 total, with China coming in second with 91.
What was the gold count?
United States and China are tied with 40 each.
Okay, that's fair. China got them all in table tennis. I was watching that quite a bit yesterday afternoon and early evening. That was very interesting to watch. You and I were talking about it a little bit. I don't know how they do that.
No.
Um, I was decent at it in college. We had a ping pong table at the bottom of state or in the lobby of State Hall. Spent a lot of time there and got decent at it, but I wasn't even close to the best one in the dorm. And actually, the rival dorm, Hughes, this is at UCA my freshman year. They were even better. So some of those guys, I didn't know how they could play like that, much less these Olympians.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's so fast.
I just like your commentary on that. Yeah, it's crazy.
It is.
But we can't explain it really further than that. Let's talk about the marathon a little bit. We'll wrap up our Olympic coverage, recap of it. Talking about the marathons, the men's and women's, both were Olympic records, the men and women. I don't think the women had a world record, but it was Olympic records were set in both the men's and women's marathons. The course was absolutely brutal. It looked beautiful. It looked like it would be very fun to run if you're just kind of doing it to do it. Because I did think that was cool that they let pretty much just your regular, average Joe participants run it after the elites got finished. And so I thought that that was cool that they would allow other people to run the course, but it was a brutal course. I sent you pictures of it on Snapchat, just some of the inclines, but that didn't do it justice. Watching it on TV, you could see it was just a step. I mean, just they were climbing throughout that course, and still, had impressive times. Still set Olympic records. So the training and the runners are just getting better and better and better. The men's wasn't close. The end anyway. I think he was Ethiopian, the guy that won it. I was saying his name like Tamarat something. I can't remember what his last name was, but it was. I'm sure I'm butchering the first name too, but I just kept saying it over and over because I like the name.
Tola?
Tola, Tamarat Tola. Okay, I knew it was something with a T, but he won it pretty easily. He kept looking back throughout the race just to see how just the distance he had between him and second place. but he was dominant in that. Setting an Olympic record on that course is very impressive. I like that they made the course difficult though. Like it wasn't just some super flat course. They made it scenic, and I mean, you ran through all the cool parts of Paris. You ran by the Louvre, you ran by the Eiffel Tower. There's a very cool camera angle showing the runners, the leaders running by the Eiffel Tower, just like from the ground level. That was a very neat shot. Loved the camera work in both races. I tuned into the end portion of the women's marathon today. By that point, I had already known who won, and I heard that it was close. So I paid attention to the end, and it was between a runner from the Netherlands and an Ethiopian, I believe, and they butted shoulders down the stretch to gain position, or as the lady from the Netherlands was making her move, and then she just steadily pulled away at the in the final sprint portion of it. But that runner one got gold, but she also medaled in the 5,000 meter and 10,000 meter races. Got bronze in both of those races, and then to end with gold, pretty awesome. Nice way to go out.
Yeah, definitely.
Uh, no, uh, no American uh, female anyway came in with the elites that I saw. I don't remember the male that did. I don't remember his name, but he came in. He was like top 10, 7, 8, something like that. So it takes me back to the last Olympics when Molly Seidel got bronze. Like that's a big deal for an American runner to be able to medal at an Olympic marathon, considering that's Kenya's and Ethiopia's sport. I mean, that's their thing. You talked about running camps that they have in Kenya, and they do in Ethiopia too. I mean, you got countries that specialize in certain sports because they know that that's their strength, and that's Kenya and Ethiopia. They are the best generally at distance running, marathon racing in particular.
Yeah.
But exciting race to end the Olympics with. Again, they're showing the encore volleyball run. I assume it's the encore. I mean, they're done with everything now, right?
Yes, the pre-show started at 1 o'clock our time. And so, but it does not tell me what time the actual closing ceremony starts. So,
Yeah, they just on NBC they just kept like Mike Tirico, who did a great job in coverage, by the way. I love the things he said. I love the stuff he even asked Steph Curry yesterday after the U.S. beat France in the gold medal game, men's basketball. I love the questions he even asked Steph Curry, like because we clearly see the rise of basketball in particular. Like the world has caught up. The world has caught up with the U.S., the United States, as far as talent goes in basketball, at least on the men's side. And he asked Steph, what would your message be to the up and coming, basketball player here in the states? Because the big difference is a lot of those European guys, and yes, we're running podcasts, but we talk about everything else too, especially, and it's our show. We'll talk about what we want sometime. But Europeans, a lot of them turn pro at 15 basketball. So they're playing, they're not brought up in the AAU system. Yeah, so we had some technical difficulties there. So basically we'll wrap it up and say that this portion of it where the rest of the world is caught up with the US as far as men's basketball goes. Women's still very dominant, but that's another story entirely. But we'll get back to the running portion of the show. All right, so I had a race yesterday. My Grand Prix schedule resumed yesterday in Hope, Arkansas, Southwest Arkansas, for those of you that don't know. So it's a good 2 hours from me. So I got to get up at 4 a.m. to go run a 5K. It was just a 5K. I actually got to bed. I was like crawling in bed at 10:05 p.m. So I actually did pretty good. Got up, had to get up at 2 because my dog needed to go out. So let Dexter out, brought him back in, got back in bed. Took me a little bit to go to sleep, but all in all, I think I got 5 hours of sleep, which is good for the night before a race for me. If I can get 5 hours, I'm happy, and I'm usually 100%. So I got up at 4 a.m. I actually got out of. I set two alarms, 4 a.m. and then 4:05. So I knew I needed to be on the road by around 4:30. So I got out of bed at 4:05. All I had to do was throw some clothes, my running clothes on, and deodorant. Brush my teeth, use some mouthwash, and then hit the road. Now, I did bring an extra pair of clothes. I really only changed into a shirt though, just because there wasn't a decent place to like get out of my running shorts and all that, and underwear and all that. There was it because it was at a like the softball and baseball. What was the softball fields? It looked like, and the bathroom wasn't the cleanest, and the stall, it wasn't very big. There wasn't a place for me to put my stuff down. Where I would have had to do it on the floor where guys would have dribbled their pee and all that. So I was like, no, I'll just not change. I was kind of dry at that point anyway. So um, the race itself was huge. I had no idea it was going to be that big. I had never done the watermelon 5K before in Hope, Arkansas. So I didn't know what to expect. I knew you'd have like your regular running clubs there running. I figured it would be a good turnout. Just because if you look at the past results, it's very fast times. So I figured it would be a good turnout. I didn't know it would be that big though. It was also a state like championship cross country meet for high school teams. So there were quite a few high school cross country teams there competing as well. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But there were a lot of people. There were over 400 runners, and it wasn't like a massive road where you start. I mean, we were all, and I'm not the fastest, but I am a faster runner. So I would have to, at least compared to the average person. So I did need to get to near the front, not the very front, but I need to get near the front. Even then, though, I was bobbing and weaving for the first quarter mile. And that obviously slows you down. Also, I basically had a perfect race at Fort Smith. Like had an A+ race at Fort Smith. Uh, didn't come out too slow. I might have told you about this. There's a girl in our run club that she passes me at a certain point in every race. In every race, she passes me at a certain point. I always come out too fast, and she comes out at the perfect speed. And then she always passes me at a certain point in the race, whether it's mile 4 of a 10K, mile nearly 2 of a 5K. She always passes me at a certain point. So I saw her prior to that race, and I said, I'm staying with you because I liked her. I was like, she's the pace I need to be going. And I stayed with her the whole time, and I actually beat her. Like she was running out of gas down the stretch. I'm guessing her training hasn't been maybe where it needs to be, at least where it's been. I don't want to say where it needs to be, but where it's been prior to basically earlier in the running season. But I just ran a really good race. I finished strong. Saturday yesterday, the bobbing and weaving was one thing, but then I don't know. I didn't feel like I left it all out there after the race. I picked it up at the end. Like I gave everything I had at the end of the race, the last quarter mile or so, plus some. I picked up my speed quite a bit and finished strong. But I finished and I was hot and I was tired. Like they had the little dish sponges in a big tub of ice water that you could grab and put on your head, neck, whatever, wherever you want, I guess. Uh, but once I kind of settled down, I felt like I left a little bit out there. But it made no difference also as far as where I stood in the standings, as far as where it really matters, the Grand Prix standings. I wouldn't have beaten anyone that I can't beat anyway had I given more effort. and I didn't lose to anyone that I should beat. So really, it was the right call, right?
Sounds like it.
Um, my chip time was 22 as I hit my desk here. It was 22:57 as I crossed, but then later last night when I got home, I was rechecking it and they changed it to 23:06, which what looked like my clock time when I came running in. When I came running in, that was what it said on the clock, 23:06, which it took me a minute to get past the start because, it was a huge race and I wasn't at the very front. So it took a bit for me to actually cross the mat. And when I stopped my watch, it was 22:59. So I actually think they had my chip time correct the first time, the 22:57 and not 23:06. But like I said, it didn't make a difference one way or another in where I placed in the standings. I was pretty far back from anyone that I shouldn't beat that would beat me anyway, and I was still pretty far enough ahead of other people I should be beating. So it doesn't matter basically. It was cool that they give you like they had plenty of water, didn't run out of water, so no disasters or anything, which is saying something because of how many people were there. But they were slicing up watermelon, handing it out to runners as they crossed. They had your orange slices and stuff too. I just got watermelon, which I know I said I would rank the two, and Cave City's watermelons are definitely better. Maybe we didn't get the best of the Hope watermelons because they weren't very red. They look like you get in a grocery store. Just a little too pink, not red enough for me. Still good, just not Cave City good. So I'm not going to score it. I won't do that. But I'll just say that yes, in my experience, having had both now, Cave City is the superior watermelon. Definitely the king of watermelons in the state of Arkansas, and still. But they did the award ceremony, and I knew I didn't place or anything. Um, I don't know where I fit in with my age group, by the way, because it was weird. The results were showing like cross country results, like boys and girls was like the listing. It didn't have age group or anything like that.
Hmm.
I just knew I didn't get first or anywhere near first in my age group, but I never do at a Grand Prix race because it's so competitive and so fast. But you do they did hand out a whole watermelon to every participant. And as I was sitting there, and I really don't even know why I hung around this long. I was listening to the awards being presented, like I was around people in my run club. And I was just looking, and the guy said, "Don't worry, all the watermelons are on their way. Like they're coming in trucks, basically, like big trucks. And not semis, but back of pickups kind of thing." And I was just doing the math in my head. I was like, I'd have to wait. I'm not going to be like at the front of the line. There's 400 something people here. I'd have to carry the thing back to my car, which is a pretty decent walk. I had to park like over 100 yards away. And I said, I don't want, and it wasn't like a Cave City watermelon as far as taste goes. So, had it been a Cave City watermelon, I would have stuck around. But it wasn't. So, I said, I'm going to go ahead and get a head start on these people. And plus, I was thinking the crowd like coming out, like leaving. Like, no, let's just go to the car and let's hit the road and get home. I wanted coffee and I was ready to go at that point. So I just left. But all in all, pretty good race experience. Only critique of myself, I felt like I left something in the tank, but like I said, I guess it was the right call because it made no difference as far as where I would have stood in the standings. But it did give me something to shoot for. Next Grand Prix race or race in general is August 31st, opening weekend of college football, and it's local in North Little Rock. Don't recall where it is in North Little Rock. I want to say maybe, yeah, I don't want to say. They're always at Burns Park, so I naturally want to say Burns Park. but it does give me a goal to shoot for. I want to come in under 23. I think that'd be a good goal. Of course, you don't know depending on what the weather's going to be that day, temperature wise. But that'll probably be my goal to try to come in under 23 minutes.
A good
I'd
goal.
say 22 and a half, but that's a pretty big gap between 23 and 22:30. Especially this time of year.
Yeah, and end of August, you just don't know. It could be in the 70s, it could be in the 90s. You just don't know what to expect that time of year.
Another thing, temperature wise, it was great yesterday. You couldn't have had better temperatures for this time of year in this part of the country. It was amazing. The last two races I've run have been very hot. Fort Smith was very hot. Batesville was very hot. It was the first kind of really that MacArthur Park 5K was that we did was the first hot race of the year. It was very hot and humid. Batesville was very hot and humid, and it was kind of interesting because I almost wore a jacket leaving because it's a like an hour and 10-20 minute drive for me to Batesville. And it was a 7:30 a.m. race, I believe. So I was leaving when it was still dark out, which is what I did yesterday. And it was cool. It was very cool that morning. I thought like, man, I might need it. I wish I had my jacket, which I just keep at work because my office gets really cold. Didn't need it at the start though. It had warmed up significantly by then. There were a lot of hills in that race. Kicked my butt. I mean, completely kicked my butt. Talked about it on the show. Wasn't pleased with where I was, so I had to up my training. Um, did better at Fort Smith. I was better prepared. Yesterday, I wouldn't say I wasn't prepared. I just felt like I left something out there, and I didn't get my usual amount of training runs in this past week. Just life got in the way. Too much happening at work. Needed groceries, all that. Just couldn't get another run in Thursday. And Friday, the priority, having to get up at 4 a.m. yesterday, priority was getting to bed rather than getting a training run in. And I'm not, I don't think you should get a training run in the day before a race anyway. Like, if you're not ready by then, you're not going to be. Just use that day to rest your legs and make sure you're 100% the next day. That's always worked for me. So, yeah, I got that. Yeah, I got that's race number 14 in the Grand Prix series, 14 of 20. So check that off my list and don't have another race until the end of the month. So just time to get better. And today it's yard work. Today getting better will consist of yard work. And it should be a pretty easy mow though, because it's that time of year the grass is pretty much dead anyway. So it's going to be pretty thin. So it's going to glide over the grass really smooth and be very satisfying feel and sight. I'm really excited about it.
Get excited about weird things.
I'm nearly 40 years old, so it's just one of those man things, I guess you could say.
I
Um,
guess so.
yeah. It's yeah. It is a little cloudy out though. I'm gonna be very irritated. Were you being serious when you said it rained in
Yeah, I sent
Benton?
you a Snapchat video.
No, I didn't see it. I don't. Last I checked, it's a 10% chance of rain here. So I think I'm good. I'm good. It is cloudy though. It is
Yeah,
quite cloudy.
it's cloudy, but it's not raining anymore. But I did send you a video of when it was raining.
Okay, well, I'll look at it here on the show. Michelle, you've just been listening to me talk. So tell us what you've been up to.
I am still recovering from my back injury, so I didn't do anything.
That's not. That's just your cat.
For those of you who are just listening, I also sent him a Snapchat of just my cat, and he showed that on camera. So, um, yeah, so I have not done a lot. Really, I've done nothing because I've needed to just rest. Today is the first day that I woke up and was not just in a lot of pain. So, I feel like we're finally getting to a point where the rest is making sense, and hopefully I can start up again soon.
So progress.
Yes, progress.
And for your back or your like a running injury, things like that, there's nothing you can do really except rest. That's the only way that you're going to get better. A guy in my run club, he's going for the Iron Award too, like I am this year in the Grand Prix. So he was injured basically or aggravated an injury the last race. So he basically limped his way through the finish line at the 8K, um, whatever it was, a few weeks ago. And so I asked him before the race, I was like, "How what's your plan for this? How you feeling? What's your plan?" And he's like, "I'm just gonna walk it." And his time was like 42 minutes something. So I mean, that's a pretty. I was like, that's pretty fast, right, for a walk? I
And
would think. I don't know.
that's faster than me run walking.
Okay. Well, I get maybe you should just walk faster.
Maybe. I have not actually just attempted fully walking a 5K. I might be faster just walking.
Yeah, I mean he just walked it and his leg is hurt. So and he came in at 42 something. So pretty that was pretty good I thought for just walking. But he kept his iron runner status and kept it going just by starting and finishing. So shout out to Ron, man. Yeah, so today, yeah, it's mowing and that's all I have on my list for today. I've watched enough of the Olympics. Like I don't I didn't care about the opening ceremony. I mean, I tuned in for a little bit and then it got weird and I wasn't offended by anything. I just thought it was weird. It wasn't my cup of tea. I didn't make it to the offensive part because it was just too we're offensive, not offensive, whatever. We're not getting into that. But I didn't care for it basically, and I don't really care for the closing ceremony. I watched the portion of the Olympics that I wanted to watch, which was the actual competition portion of it. Favorite part of the Olympic Games, Michelle. We'll get out of here on this.
For me, it's definitely gymnastics. I really like the women's gymnastics. It's my favorite. I did enjoy it. There were some crazy upsets this year that were just completely unexpected. So that was fun and different and made it for a very intense Olympic Games for those gymnasts.
What's your favorite actual like gymnastic event?
I really like the beam. Um, I like that one probably the most.
It's basically just try not to fall. Like do some cool tricks without falling is basically what it was.
Yes.
So I get the appeal. The springboard is definitely my favorite because you get that running start and then jump on the little trampoline doohickey and spring up in there. You hit the thing and you flip and whatnot, and then just try to stick the landing. That's the most interesting to me. That's the one I enjoy watching the most. My favorite events of this Olympics in particular, just generally, it's the 100-meter dash or track and field events. What happened?
I definitely had a plate of food on my kitchen counter and definitely just heard that plate hit the ground and then watched my dog walking away licking his lips.
Okay, what kind of food was it?
It was mini corn dogs that I'd had for lunch.
Okay, well, you have a Great Dane, so you should know better than to leave it on the counter. So really, that's on you. I mean, I can tell you're mad about it right now, but it's really on you for doing that when you know that you have a polar bear living in your house.
You're not wrong, but also he knows better than to get, and it was in the middle, which means he had to jump on the counter. He couldn't just put his little head over.
Yes, but he's fully capable of getting on the counter and getting it. That's my point. I
He
mean,
is.
you should know that.
I know.
So don't be too hard on him. He did. He walked away and did so shamelessly. He did. He had no regrets about what he had done.
He
I'm
had zero regrets.
sure they were delicious. Good for midnight. You don't feed him enough anyway. So good for him. I'm team midnight on this. Generally my favorite event is the track and field events and the 100-meter dash. Which did not disappoint. The track and field events were exceptional. Femke Bowles come back in that mixed relay. That was exciting to watch. My favorite, basically, experience of the 2024 Olympic Games in Paris was Léon Marchand, the local the French swimmer. Um, won his comeback in the 200 butterfly, I believe it was, over the guy from Morocco who was maybe supposed to win it. It looked like that was the case, and then him passing him at the very end, and seeing the entire country of France roar, and like they showed camera angles of from inside the arena at bars to just everywhere, just losing it, going nuts. And whenever he would hit the pool, and just the crowd reaction to him swimming was my favorite part of the Olympics. You saw a little bit of it in the mixed relay medley when he did the breaststroke for one event, and every time he dip under and come up, the crowd would roar. It was like that anytime he swam. So that was my favorite part of the Olympics, seeing this what looks to be the next star in swimming. Um, yeah, Leon Marchand. That was my favorite part of the Olympic Games. But the track and field events did not disappoint, nor did the marathon events. Okay, so next up for me, like I said, the ARK 5K. Which, are you going to do that, by the way?
Absolutely not. It's August. I cannot risk that.
Well, I tried to talk you into it. I still think you should. You could walk the thing.
It if it's too
It's
hard,
local.
I can't. Nope, not risking it.
Boo. All right, well, I will be there August 31st. I did register as a Beast Pacer last night for the Spooky Sprint Half Marathon in Fayetteville, Arkansas, Sunday, October 20th. I actually saw I'm supposed to be a 210 pacer. I switched to the 220 group because I saw that we already had somebody for the 210 group, and we're not big enough yet to be necessary for two pacers. So I volunteered to do the 221 if needed. So Vanessa moved me to the 221 and thanks me very much for doing that. And I said, not a problem. So that's what I've been up to. Shout out to Beast Pacing, by the way, my fellow Beast Pacers. All right, so I think we've talked enough about running in life this week. What do we miss, Michelle? Anything?
I don't think so.
Are you going to watch closing ceremony?
Probably not.
Yeah, I'm not, just because I've gotten my Olympic experience and I need to mow, so I need to do that and carry on with everything else going on in life. Pet my dog more and all that. So I guess we're going to get out of here. Next week we'll likely be back with yeah, you never know what goes on in our lives. We're both busy people, but be a lot of training runs and stuff like that, and just whatever else we have going on. Maybe Michelle will feel good enough to hit that bike or something.
Fingers
Until
crossed.
then, yeah, until then, we'll see y'all next time. Grand Pal, that's Michelle Zangulis. Deuces, y'all.
See ya.